And we're back, and then there were four. Welcome to my preview and predictions for the first of the two semi-finals in the Club World Cup. As you can see on your screen, we have got Paris Saint-Germain from Group B, Chelsea from Group D, Fluminense from Group F, and Real Madrid from Group H. Nicely spread across the tournament, and those are the four teams that are going to be competing for a place in the World Cup final this weekend. But what we're going to do is we are going to split it because these are being played on two separate days. So we're going to have today's video covering the first semi-final between Fluminense and Chelsea, and then tomorrow's video covering the second semi-final between PSG and Real Madrid. So if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video and sharing it with a friend. Subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss out on tomorrow's prediction, and of course that all-important World Club Cup final prediction, and of course all the new series we'll have coming up for you over the course of the brand new season. If you want to gain additional perks ahead of the brand new season, what you can do is you can become a member of the channel, which will allow you to gain additional perks, including additional predictions on my community page. So, without any further ado, here it is. We have Fluminense and Chelsea. You will see at the top of your screen right now that we've had another decent week in terms of the quarterfinals. We got 3 out of 4 correct in terms of the predictions, and still no more correct scores, which is incredibly frustrating. In fact, the only prediction that we got wrong was Fluminense. So, without any further ado, let's get straight into it. It is Fluminense of Brazil taking on Chelsea, and Chelsea are probably sick of the sight of Brazilian sides. This will be the third Brazilian side that they have played in this tournament. For Fluminense, it's a little bit of a mix-up once again, coming up against European opposition. And look, Chelsea are going to come into this as the overwhelming favourites for this match because obviously they're the European team. They've got the higher expensive players. They've obviously got South Americans and Brazilians in their lineup anyway. But if we actually look at what's gone on in this tournament so far, should Chelsea actually be considered the favourites for this competition, for this match? Because let's actually think about it. Fluminense are unbeaten not only in this tournament so far, but in 11 games in a row in all competitions. They've beaten Inter Milan, who were the Champions League finalists. They've beaten Al Hilal, who just beat Manchester City, who finished higher than Chelsea in the Premier League this season. And Chelsea have already lost to Flamengo in this Club World Cup this tournament. So, should Chelsea actually be considered the favourites? In fact, have Chelsea even put in a good performance in this Club World Cup so far? I mean, okay, they beat Esperance 3-0. But they weren't great against LA. They lost to Flamengo. They beat Esperance. They needed 5 hours and extra time to beat Benfica. And then they needed a really crap, shocking own goal from Palmeiras to get past Palmeiras in the last round. So, for me, even though they've actually made it to this Club World Cup semi-final, I don't think Chelsea have necessarily been that good. And Chelsea fans, feel free to correct me in the comment section if you just feel like these results are deserved. But I don't know. I've not been overly convinced by Chelsea. Whereas Fluminense have shown heart, determination, grit, ability, defensive outlay, but also offensive outlay. They've been outstanding in this tournament so far. Like, I feel Fluminense deserve to be in this semi-final more than Chelsea do. And I hate using deserve. But in terms of actually how they've got there, I think Fluminense have really had to work hard to get here. Whereas Chelsea haven't necessarily had to work hard to get here. But to be fair to them, they are still here. So it's an interesting one. The only disappointment is, obviously, as we've mentioned, Chelsea have already played 2 Brazilian sides in this competition so far, in Palmeiras and Flamengo. But actually, Fluminense, back in the Brazilian league, haven't played against either of those sides so far this season. So we don't really get that barometer of how they stack up against each other. What I will say is that Fluminense are actually lower in the Brazilian Serie A this season than the 2 sides that Chelsea have played so far. So if that's an actual indicator of why you should probably go for Chelsea, that's probably the better one out of all of them. Furthermore, when we get to the actual all-important team news, there is going to be some big absentees for both sides. Firstly, for Fluminense, their goal scorer of that wonderful goal in the first half, Martinelli, he is going to be suspended after picking up his second yellow card of the tournament in that first half. However, at half-time, knowing this, they substituted him off, put Hercules on, and then he went on and scored the winner. So that might not necessarily be a big loss for them, but he has been a really influential player for them. He's not the only player suspended for Fluminense, though, as Freites is also going to be suspended. He plays in that back three for them, so he could be a key loss. Furthermore, Xavier went off injured late on in that game, and as things stand, it's unclear whether or not he'll make it. But from what I'm seeing, it looks like he will be fine. For Chelsea, they're not going to be without Liam Delap or Levi Colwill. Both of them are going to be suspended for this one. I don't think I said that right. But they're both going to be suspended for this one. Delap for 2 yellow cards, Colwill for 2 yellow cards. But, of course, they do now have João Pedro available to them. They do have Nicholas Jackson available to them. And they have a whole host of centre-back options available to them. So I think Chelsea are going to be fine whatever happens with those players. There's also the worry surrounding Reece James. He was obviously included in that starting lineup for Palmeiras, but then pulled out due to another muscular injury. As things stand, it doesn't look like he's going to make this semi-final, but could be back for the final should Chelsea make it there. And it's just another injury for Reece James. Finally, there cannot be debuts for either of Jamie Gittins or Esteval. Obviously, both of them have now completed their moves to Chelsea following Dortmund and Palmeiras getting knocked out respectively, but they cannot play for two teams at the same tournament. But finally, and crucially for that Chelsea team news, Moises Caicedo is back from suspension, and you would expect him to come back into that starting lineup and be a massive, massive figure in this match. Ultimately, I think this is going to be a really close game. Both of these sides have only conceded 3 goals in this tournament so far, and you've got to look at things like Fluminense keeping a clean sheet against Inter Milan as a real indicator of how good this team can be defensively. But the same applies for Chelsea. Both have conceded only 3 goals in this tournament. I think there is a very good possibility that we could see this one go to extra time. Incredibly, we've not actually had a single penalty shootout yet in this competition. So could this be the first penalty shootout of the Club World Cup in this semi-final? I'm going to say no, because I do think, as I've said from the start of this preview and prediction, I still think Chelsea should be considered the favourites for this competition. And if anything, the fact that they've got to this semi-final without necessarily playing to the best of their ability, I think should be more of a concern than a positive for Fluminense, because now Chelsea can really go for it, knowing that they are just 2 games from becoming world champions. Don't get me wrong, Fluminense have been outstanding. They're going to give it everything, and it would not surprise me one bit if they A, beat Chelsea, or B, win via extra time or a penalty shootout. I think they've got a very good chance, but I just have to go for Chelsea. I think they're the favourites. I think they're going to get the result. I just think they've got far too much quality up and down the pitch. So I am going to go for a very narrow 2-1 win to Chelsea. As always, let me know all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. I think it's going to be an incredibly fascinating game. I think it's going to be a very tactical game. And ultimately, I do think the English side is going to prevail. But like I say, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching as always. I'll be back tomorrow with my preview and prediction for the absolutely mouth-watering PSG against Real Madrid semi-final. I'll see you there.